Hello, YouTube. In this video, I am going to be talking about one of my most anticipated movies of this year, and that is The Crow 2024, the upcoming reboot. Now, obviously, we can't talk about The Crow without talking about the original, right? So, the original movie, for those of you who aren't familiar with The Crow, who've never heard of The Crow, the original movie, of course, starred Brandon Lee, who was unfortunately killed while making the movie. He was killed by a prop gun, a defective gun blank to be more precise, and so that was his final performance before he died. And now this movie, now The Crow, the concept of The Crow is it's about two people, Shelley Webster and Eric Draven. They are very much in love. And then they're very much in love. They're engaged to be married, and then one cold night in October, they both get brutally murdered. And then Eric, he gets resurrected. He gets resurrected by a crow, and a year later he comes back. He comes back from the dead on the anniversary that it happened to exact revenge upon those who had murdered him and Shelley. So now this movie, this reboot, honestly, part of me still can't believe that this movie. Part of me still can't believe that this movie is even saw the light of day, because a reboot of The Crow, they've been trying to get this off the ground for like 15 years. And honestly, this movie, this movie was plagued by delays. It was plagued by the lead actor constantly leaving. It was plagued by ownership rights. It was plagued by being stuck in pre-production for so long. So you could probably already get the idea that something just kept getting in the way from this movie getting made. And because because it was stuck in development for so long, several actors were once attached to the role of Eric Draven. I know there have been a couple or a few more than one than who I'm about to name. Obviously, I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but Bradley Cooper, Norman Reedus, Jack O'Connell, I think Nicholas Hoult was considered at one point, Jack Houston, and then most recently departed actor Jason Momoa. So so many, so this movie was stuck in development hell for a very long time. And now this movie also originally had a very different director. Corin Hardy was going to be the original director, and his version of the film, both him and Jason Momoa ended up leaving due to financial difficulties. And when I heard this, I'm not gonna lie, my heart sank um, when I heard this, because during that version of the film, they brought in Crow creator James O'Barr as a creative consultant. Excuse me, and and he and in 2014 he described that version of the film as an adaptation of his graphic novel. So and that, so when I heard that, I was like, I I was obviously not happy at all. Um, However, um, they finished filming, so the movie is hitting theaters August 23rd. It stars Bill Skarsgård, who is such an incredible actor. I mean, he's phenomenal in like everything that he does. I honestly, I would literally go as far as to say he's one of the best actors in Hollywood right now. And then the movie is being directed by Rupert Sanders, um, who I'm not gonna lie, I was very, 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 very skeptical when I heard that he was going to be the new director. However, my excitement. However, after reading an article and reading an interview with Rupert Sanders talking about the movie, um, my my excitement and everything else immediately rose back up. And I want to read to you guys what he said um, regarding the movie. Now, obviously, the 94 film is obviously, it's a cult classic. It's, it does have it does have a pretty large fan base. The comic book is still really, really, the comic book is still really, really popular. Um, so if you are still, so if any of you here are still skeptical, I'm pretty confident that by the time I finish this video, I'm pretty confident that I will have some of you sold on the idea of this film. So I'm going to read to you what Sanders said. He obviously acknowledged the death of Brandon Lee and the 94 film. So he said, obviously it was a terrible tragedy, and and it is definitely something that we've always had in mind through the making of the film, Sanders said. Brandon was an original voice, and I think he will always be synonymous with the Crow. And I hope he's proud of what we've done and how we brought the story back again. His soul is very much alive in this film. Um, there's a real fragility and beauty to his version of the Crow, and I think Bill feels like he is a successor to that. Um, on what the new Eric Draven brings to the table, Sanders added, I think the beauty of Bill is that he has a disturbing beauty, and as he transforms through his loss, he becomes this thing that even he can't control. Now, for those of you who have seen the pictures um, that dropped, I think they were from Variety. I don't remember off the top of my head what source, um, what source dropped them. Um, you'll see that, he obviously looks nothing like, he obviously looks nothing like Brandon Lee. He's covered in tattoos. He's got, he's got, like a short mullet. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not crazy about this design. I understand why they did it. They obviously wanted to. They obviously wanted to. Um, remember, remember, this is a reboot. It's not, remember, this is a reboot. So I think they wanted to, do something. I mean, they obviously wanted to do something different, but at the same time, they wanted to stay true. They wanted to stay true to the general tone and feel of the original film and graphic novel. Um, but I'm gonna read to you guys another quote here, specifically the one that got me sold on the idea of this movie. Um, excuse me. I'm gonna read to you guys what sold me on this movie, because I was immediately I after I saw this, I immediately got excited. Um, I immediately got excited when I saw this. Um, okay, yep, here we are. Um, um, so this is in another interview with Rupert Sanders. He said The Crow is the original anti-superhero, Sanders said in a newly released statement. His story is about tragic loss. His story is about tragic loss, about dealing with the pain of everything that comes with losing someone you love, something that all of us have or will encounter at some point in our lives. It is about the dark shadow of grief and what we would do when something so meaningful about what we would do when something so meaningful is taken from us. He also added, the original graphic novel is so deeply meaningful for so many in the character. His journey and his need for revenge has inspired a canon of films for the last 3 decades. Our version goes back to the original graphic novel by James O'Barr, who I had the honor of meeting with, shortly before production, and explores the love story as the primary drive for our film. So anybody who has obviously seen the original knows that the original obviously opens with Eric and Shelley murdered. Um, this one, um, the well, not it. It opens with the aftermath. Well, I shouldn't say it opens with them murdered, but it opens with like the aftermath of the of their it opens with the aftermath of their um incident, and um and then later on we get like flashbacks and stuff like that, like the graphic novel did. However, um this time around they're doing something a little bit different. They're and this I think is actually a very, very good thing. Remember, remember in the original movie, Shelley didn't have much screen time in the original. So what they're doing this time is they're making the character of Shelley a co-lead. So we're going to be so with this movie, we're going to be spending this movie goes back to to that original love story from the graphic novel. It'll be the primary drive for the film. However, this time around, we're going to be spending a little time with Eric and Shelley before they get murdered. And that, I think, is not only a brilliant idea, but it will increase character development. It will give um, us as the audience a greater, um, it will give us more, it'll give us like more time to get, like attached to them as characters and stuff like that. And then, when it finally is time for them to die, you're gonna be like, oh my God, this is, um, however, making her a co-lead this time around, I think um, it will make Eric's mission for revenge that much more personal. It'll give us, you're going to be spending more time with them. So you're going to get, um, you're going to have a greater sense of, like you're going to have a greater sense of like Eric's pain and how much, um, and how much, like what he's feeling. Um, now this, now the Crow, um, now the Crow is a character. You know how most superheroes, of course, the Crow is not a superhero, but you know how most comic book characters, like Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, um, the Hulk, whatever, you know how characters like that were created for entertainment purposes. The Crow, James O'Barr created the Crow out of his personal tragedy. So it wasn't, it wasn't, so, it wasn't like, it wasn't, it wasn't like, it wasn't like, he sat down one day and said, oh, I'm going to create, this character and this graphic novel um, and have a blast with it. That's James O'Barr had a very, very difficult um, upbringing. In fact, in fact, I'm going to recommend this to you right now if you haven't seen it. Um, you can go on YouTube and just type in James O'Barr, and then you can literally watch him. He literally does like an entire. He talks about like his entire history, like his upbringing, his childhood, how he came up with the Crow. It's really, 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 really interesting. However, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that in this video. Um, but James O'Barr created the Crow um, as like a way to get over the loss of his girlfriend, who was murdered by a drunk driver. Um, from what I understand, they never caught the guy, and James O'Barr was basically like, well, if I don't do something about this, I'm gonna self-destruct. He um, he created the Crow as like his way of like channeling, like all of his grief and all of his rage and everything that he was feeling. Um, but yeah, they were um, James and Beverly were together for 3 years. They were engaged to be married, like Eric and Shelley. And then one day she was just killed by a drunk driver. Um, so that, and originally James just, wrote it for himself. He had no intention of publishing it or anything like that. But a comic shop that he was working in at the time, the owner asked him, do you have any comic books of your own? So he showed it to him, and he liked it so much that and he was like, hey, I want to look into getting this published. Um, but yeah, no, this is honestly, I'm so excited about this movie. This movie, it really, 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 really looks like that Rupert Sanders and everybody involved just really, really, really knows what they're doing. And like I said, I was very, very skeptical at first. Um, when I heard, that Corin left the movie. But no, it really, really looks like that they know what they're doing. And what really amazes me about this is, so many, so many movies these days, comic book movies especially, usually when Hollywood, if you go to see, like a Marvel movie these days, or, like even, even, like some of the past DC movies that they've done, they just pretty much go with, whatever they manage to pull out of their asses. And then it ends up being, a complete fiasco. And they very easily could have done that with The Crow. They very easily, could have just gone with something that, that they were like, here you go. But it's like, but yeah, no, they didn't do that. They are genuinely, it really, really looks like that they are genuinely trying, to give this movie, the justice and the love that it deserves. And I honestly, I really don't remember the last time I was more excited for a comic book movie. I cannot wait for this movie. I'm so excited. Um, and I really, really can't wait. I mean, it looks dark. It looks darker than the original, if I'm being honest. I mean, I don't, like, I don't know if other people feel that way, but I genuinely feel that it looks darker than the original. Um, but yeah, but this looks absolutely incredible. And if Brandon Lee were alive today, I really, really think he would be proud. Um, I really, really think that I really, really think that he would be proud of, to have his name, associated with this, with this product, because um, I know that Brandon Lee was a huge, 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 huge fan of the books. Um, before coming on, before doing the movie back in the day. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think. Hopefully, hopefully this video has, gotten you, um, hopefully I built your interest in the upcoming movie. I know there are a lot of people who think, that Brandon Lee will never be replaced, and he won't be. I mean, Brandon Lee was obviously born for that role. That's not, they're not, nobody is trying to disrespect Brandon Lee's memory in any way, shape, or form. Um, they are just simply trying, to bring this beloved story, to, to a new generation, and just, retell it in a way, that had never, that's never been done before. It's like when Heath Ledger, it's like when Joaquin Phoenix was cast as the Joker for the Joker movie. It's like nobody was trying to replace, Heath Ledger. They were just trying to do something with the character that had never been done. Director Todd Phillips and Scott Silver had a vision. They were basically like, well, what, the Joker is basically, the Joker is basically the most evil villain, of all time. So what would happen if we take this character, what would happen if we if we took this character and humanized him, put him, put him, in a very different light. That's all that they're trying to do with this new Crow movie. And I honestly, I could not be happier with the way, with how it looks, and I could not be more excited for this movie. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Um, are any of you as excited as I am for this movie? Um, hopefully I have, hopefully I've managed to sell some people on this movie. But anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.